Hello and welcome to AltheaSuite. Today we're going to take a look at some of the basic UI features and how to navigate within your account. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is take a look at our login here. So with AltheaSuite login, you can either use your user ID and password, or you can sign in with a connected email account. So first, we'll take a look at that. I'm simply going to click on my email provider, and then it will bring up a list of the already logged in connected accounts. So I will click on mine, and this will automatically log me in and bring me to my default page. Now, if I would like to log in with my user ID and password, I can also just simply type that in. And we do have a little checkbox. We can click to confirm our password. Now, once we've logged in, we will come to our default login page. That may be our dashboard. We'll touch a little bit later on how this can be changed. But the default login page will simply be the first page we view when we have entered our account. Now, once we have logged in to our AltheaSuite account, we will come to our dashboard page. So our dashboard page here will display data for our orders, our sales, our collections, and our purchases. Now, up at the top, we'll see our totals for the day, week, month, and quarter. And we can simply click in between these different categories by clicking on the icons at the top of the page here. Now, below the totals, we will see these 4 graphs. So each of these is going to be highly customizable, highly editable. They will also be independent of each other. So I can set information in this graph, and it will not affect any information in this graph. So with our gear icon next to the graph title, I can simply click in, and it will bring up our graph input page. So here is where we can set our chart settings. We can change our title to reflect the input values we have, what's going to be displaying on the chart. We can also select the chart type that we would like to show. We can select an area chart. We can select a bar chart. We can also select a line chart. Next, we can select our time interval, meaning the data point breakup we want, as well as the duration. So we can set, as we have here, a monthly interval for the last 12 months. We could also select a quarterly interval for the last 12 quarters, or day, week, year. So we'll return to month. Then we will select what we want our series breakup to be based upon. So from here, we can select a category. Say we only want to view our bedding accessories. We could also add mattresses, and we could add miscellaneous. So this will just reflect what we want to base these different charts upon, the series breakup. Now, this can also be filtered by employee, associated employee, business location, brand, subcategory, color, size, type, and attribute. Now, once we have set our graph, we can simply apply, and the graph will change automatically. Now, all this information, including our totals at the top, is real-time information. As soon as I make a sale, make an invoice in AltheaSuite, our sales information will be adjusted. As soon as I make a purchase, our purchase information will be adjusted. Now, if I click back in here and I decide I want to return to the default settings for the graph, I can simply come down to the left-hand corner of the page, select Reset to Default, confirm, and it will return to our default settings for the. Next, we want to take a look at our navigation and search features. So in AltheaSuite, in each module, you will be able to see a gridded screen like the one you see here. Now with this gridded screen, we can both customize the information that's displayed, as well as the order of the information that's displayed. With our gear icon to the right-hand side of the screen here, if I click into this, it will bring up a list of the columns that are visible in our selected fields, as well as the available fields. This will be columns that are not displaying currently, but we are able to add them into the display screen. Now, with these fields, I can both remove them simply by clicking the arrows pointing to the left and right in the middle of my screen here. I can also change the order of them by clicking on the arrows to the right-hand side of my screen here. I can move them from all the way from the top to the bottom with these two arrows here. And then I can also change what the default grid customization will be. So if I click to set as default, that will set my current setup, my current display here, as the default grid view. I can also clear default. That will revert them all back to normal. I can reset to default. And then I can also, as I mentioned, change these and then set a new default. Now we have these two checkboxes here to search only in selected fields, as well as to show item images. So if I want to remove item images, I can just unclick this box. And if I want to search all fields, including those that aren't displayed, I can uncheck this box. We also have the page size setting here. So we can select how many records we would like to display per page, as well as always showing the total record count. That simply means that at the bottom of the screen here, it will always display the actual total we have. Now, the grid icon here is going to be color coded. So as you can see, when I remove any field, it is going to appear in orange. This will simply notify me that there have been changes made to the default. Now, if I set this as my new default, we can see that the grid icon, the gear icon here, will now show as purple, simply meaning that the default has been changed, but we are still on our default view. Now, once we make changes to this default view with the purple grid icon, it will revert to orange, again, just showing that we've made changes to our new set default. Now to take a look at our search capabilities. Now in our search bar here, this will be available on any, again, of our gridded screens. We do have simple search with our magnifying glass icon. Now, if you remember from our grid icon setting, we can select to either search the selected fields or all available fields, not just the displayed fields. So I'm only going to search for my selected fields here, but I can search any information in any of these columns that appear on my display. Now, what that means is that the input value I put in this field here will be searched for through each of these columns. So I could put in a SKU, I could put in an item name, I could put in a preferred supplier, and it would search each of these columns for the information I'm looking for. So just as an example here, we could put GRP, and that would just bring me up both SKUs that have GRP, names that have GRP, as well as GRP appearing in any of these other columns. Now, if I just want to search for a specific column or change the way that the input information is received, I can click into this lightning bolt icon, and this will bring up our advanced search. Now, our advanced search can be configured in multiple different ways. So we'll see the first selection up here is to select an OR search, meaning that the search text could be present in any of the selected columns. An AND search means the search text must be present in all of the selected columns. And then finally, or comma separated values in search box, meaning that any of the comma separated text may be present in the row. Now we can also change our comparison operator here by selecting contains, does not contain, starts with, does not start with, ends with, does not end with, and change how it's actually searching for this input value. Next, we can select the actual columns we would like to search for. So as I mentioned, With our simple search, it is going to search all of those available columns, but we can also say, I only want to search by SKU, I only want to search by item name, item part number, etc. So here I could select the multiple columns I want my input value to be searched for in, and then hit OK. And we'll see once we have made changes to that advanced search, just like with our gear icon, our lightning bolt symbol for advanced search will change to orange. Now, if I click back in and I decide to set as default, again, just like our gear icon, it will change to a purple lightning bolt, meaning that it is a new default, but we are viewing the default string. Now I can also clear my search, select all fields, clear all fields, as well as clear my default. If I clear my default, I'm going to return to orange because I still have selected fields. If I clear all, clear search, we will return to the gray icon. Next, we're going to take a look at our employee setup as well as our user roles. So our employee setup here will include our employee profiles for both actual users, those that will be logging in and using AltheaSuite, as well as employees that will not actually be using AltheaSuite, but we do want to track for reporting purposes. So each employee will have their own profile here. To create a new employee, we'll simply come up to the upper left-hand corner, select our new button, and this will bring us to our employee creation page. We'll again notice the red asterisk for required fields. We must give a first name, and then we can also add our last name. Then the other required field here will be our employee number. So AltheaSuite will automatically generate an employee number as soon as we create a new employee, but this is an editable field. So if we do not want to use the generated number, say that we have an internal system already, our employees already have employee numbers, we can simply come in here and edit that and input their current employee name. Now we also have a active inactive checkbox. So this can both be for when employees leave the company as well as seasonal employees. We want to mark them inactive during their time off. To the right side here, we have a field for adding images. If you'd like an employee profile picture, we can either open up our camera or browse from our files. Then we have a field for gender, date of birth, email address and phone number, their department, the hire date, joining date, if they are assigned to a specific cash register, who they report to, as well as an associated email address for both emails to customers as well as intern. Then we can add address information if we would like. And then finally, our has login. So has login will determine between those employees that will be actually accessing AltheaSuite and those that are just being tracked for reporting. So if I click has login, these fields will appear where I can input our login ID and password. I can select our user role, which we'll touch on in a second here. And I can input any third-party login email addresses, simply email addresses that are also associated to this account. I can select our access here. So the business locations they have access to, the warehouses they have access to, and whether or not they have access to our dashboard for that business location. Now our checkboxes here for employee attributes, we can mark whether or not they are actually an employee or we're simply creating a profile, whether or not they can be assigned to invoices, if they must capture signatures on invoices and orders, whether or not they can deliver orders and perform on-site services, if they can have appointments, if they can perform all types of services or can only perform selected services, whether or not they can see repeat services, and the maximum number of services that employee can perform in a day. Then our final section here is for the work shift, their working hours, their hourly rate, any sales commission percentage, and any holiday schedule. Now, we will also see this button for employee custom fields. So the majority of objects and records in AltheaSuite do have the ability to create custom fields. So if we want to create an employee custom field, we simply click on that button there, create new. We would give a field name. So we could say something like maybe their mobile number. Say if we had input their home number in that phone number field. And we can select our field type between date, time, fractional number, lookup value, number, and text. Now, most of these field types are pretty self-explanatory. Lookup value here will allow us to sort by, search by, filter by this custom field. So I am just going to put number, as we're just going to get a mobile phone number and create. Then we will apply this field. It will take a second to load as this is applying the field to all of our employee profiles. And once it is loaded, we will have a field to input those mobile numbers. Now we can also, with our context menu, come in and modify, view, or delete our employee profiles. We can also filter for active and inactive employees. Now our user role. So the user roles will determine the AltheaSuite environment that that employee has access to when they log in. So as you can see, I've created a few different ones here. Now you can create as many user roles as you'd like. Most common best practice we see is to create these user roles based on the department or their job responsibilities. As you can see, I've done here, delivery, inventory management, purchasing, sales, service technician. You can also do it for individual employees if you'd like, for the entire company if you don't need to differentiate, but there is much flexibility with our employee roles here. Now, how these work is if I come into any of these employee roles, I can modify, clone. I can also manage which reports they have access to, as well as delete the user role itself. So I'm going to come in and modify. Now you can see from this screen here that I can determine what exactly they have access to. So for this example, I'm using my delivery driver. They only have access to deliveries. And when I then go to log in with this user role login, I'll come, I will log out, and then I will log into my delivery driver profile. And we will see that because I restricted access to everything but our deliveries, that is the only thing that's going to appear on my screen. That's the only module I will have access to. So if I come out again and go back into my main profile, I have a admin user role, so I have access to everything. Now, with these user roles, they can be either very simply done, or they can be very in-depth and specific on what we want to have access to. What I mean by that is for this basic view here, before I click into everything, we can simply remove access from entire modules, but we can also click into these modules. So I'm here clicking into my sales, then I'm clicking into my sales invoices, and this is going to determine the specifics of what I could do on sales invoices. So again, this can be very simple, very basic, or we can get as detailed, as specific as we would like. Now we can also click their start page. So as we mentioned, the dashboard is our default login page. So that will be without any edits, without any changes, the login page you see. But we can select per user role what we would like them to see when they log in. So maybe they will not have dashboard access and we prefer that they log in and immediately come to their sales screen, or they immediately come to their service screen. And this will just change, again, what that login page view is. Then from our user roles, we can add multiple employees. We can change the employee user role based on this here, just by adding them to the role. So we could go and select Brantley here and say that he is also going to be under this delivery driver role and update. Now, when I go to edit, modify, change any of these user roles, I will get this message before I can update it. It will say the user role is updated successfully. Do you want to force log out all currently active users in this role for immediate effective change? What this means is the employee must be logged out before the actual changes will be reflected. So if they're in the middle of something, I don't want to force log them out. I can say no, and then the change will take effect next time they log in. Or I can choose to forcefully log them out and automatically make that change. Now, once I say yes, I'll get the message that all users in this role were logged out successfully and close, and that role will now be updated. Next, we will take a look at clocking in and clocking out for employees. Now, the first way we can do this is every employee login will have their first initial in the upper right-hand corner of the screen here. When I click into this, it's going to bring up a list of options. I can view my profile. I can clock in, clock out, view our help tutorials, or log out from my account. When I hit the time in, time out, it is going to bring up my time in or time out detail. We'll see the business location, employee, date, and time. Then a note can be added. We can print and also send as an email. Now, when I time out, it is going to automatically log me out of my account. When I log back in, I will have to clock in. It will not automatically clock me in just based on that login. So once I've logged in, I will simply again click on my initial in the upper right-hand corner here, select time in, and that will be recorded, and I'm now on the clock. Now, if we again come to our employees module here and go to time in, time out, not only will we be able to see the recording, but we will also be able to create a new clock in, clock out from this screen. So if I go to the upper left-hand corner and click new, from here, this will be more of a management feature where you can actually select the employee, you can change time and date, you can add notes, as well as change the business location. So this can be a feature that, based on those user roles, we restrict access to. This is only for management owners, but this will be where I can select my employee. So if they actually don't have a login, we're just tracking them. I can also clock them in here. We can select our employee. Now the system will know based on that employee whether they are currently clocked in or clocked out. So it knows that currently not clocked in, I would have to time them in. I can also change my date here, change my time, as well as, like I mentioned, add notes, print, or send the email. So we'll time them in. Again, that will appear. And as you can see, both of us are now on the clock. Now, this has been a basic overview of some of the UI features in AltheaSuite, some of the navigation, search, grid settings. Thank you so much for watching, and we appreciate your interest.